Imagine falling in love. Everything feels perfect. The laughs, the long talks, the way he looks at you like you're the only person in the world. You've never felt more seen, more safe. But then, something strange happens. He says something you know he's never said before. He mentions a memory you never shared. And one night, you catch him looking at you, but it's not him. It's his twin. And he's been watching you for a very long time. This isn't just a love triangle. It's a ticking time bomb. Because when two identical brothers fall for the same woman, only one will survive. Hey there, welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, welcome to this little corner of YouTube where true stories meet twisted endings, and you find yourself saying, wait, what just happened? Today's story is going to take you somewhere dark, intense, and unforgettable. We've got twin brothers, born together, raised side by side. But somewhere along the way, one of them took a sharp turn down a road he was never meant to follow. One found love, the other found obsession. And the woman caught in the middle? She thought she knew who she was choosing. But what she didn't realize was, she was being chosen too. Watched, studied, hunted. Now, you've probably heard of sibling rivalry, right? Maybe over toys or grades or who gets the last slice of pizza. But this isn't about petty jealousy. This is about identity. This is about someone looking exactly like the man you love, moving like him, sounding like him, even smiling like him, but not being him. And by the time you notice the difference, it's already too late. You're about to hear a story that takes romance and rips it open at the seams. It starts with attraction, flirts with confusion, and ends with betrayal so deep, it costs someone their life. There's going to be moments in this story where your heart clenches, where you want to yell at the screen, where you'll wonder how someone could miss the signs, and then realize you might have missed them too. Before we dive headfirst into this emotional roller coaster full of twists, secrets, and fatal consequences, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button below, and make sure you tap the bell icon so you don't miss any more jaw-dropping stories like this one. Go ahead, I'll wait. All set? Cool. So here's what you're in for. We're going to start where all love stories do, with a connection. A spark. Two people drawn to each other like magnets. But as their bond grows stronger, so does something darker lurking in the background. A shadow that looks just like him but isn't. Because one of the twins is living in plain sight. And the other one? He's building a fantasy he refuses to let go of. Not even if someone has to die for it. This is not just a story about heartbreak. It's about obsession wearing love like a mask. It's about the danger of not knowing who's really behind the smile. And ultimately, it's about what happens when two people share the same face, but not the same soul. So buckle up. Because what starts as a love story ends in blood. Twin brothers fight over the same woman, only one survives. Let's begin. You know how sometimes a moment sneaks up on you and changes your whole life? And you don't even realize it until much later, when you're standing in the wreckage wondering when everything began to fall apart? It all started on a quiet Friday evening. Nothing dramatic. No movie-style meet-cute. Just a bookstore, soft jazz playing in the background, and a woman looking for a gift for her niece. She didn't even notice the man at first. He was just another guy in the fiction aisle, flipping through the back of a mystery novel. But he noticed her. Not in a creepy way, at least not then. He had that gentle kind of gaze. The kind that doesn't demand attention but earns it. He smiled at her over a shared interest in the same author. They struck up a conversation. Easy flowing. She liked that he wasn't pushy. He listened more than he talked. When he laughed, it was genuine, like his entire face smiled, not just his mouth. He was charming but quiet about it. The kind of guy who makes you feel safe just by standing near you. His name was Aaron. At least that's what he told her. They went for coffee the next day. Then dinner. And within 2 weeks, it felt like she'd known him for years. He asked about her dreams, not just her job or her family or where she grew up, but the things that kept her awake at night, the ones that made her heart race, the silly little things she was too embarrassed to tell most people. And he didn't flinch. He never made her feel weird or too much. That was his gift. He made her feel seen. What she didn't know, what no one told her, is that sometimes when someone sees you too clearly, it's because they've been watching far longer than you think. Their relationship moved at a pace that felt just right. Not rushed, not slow. Comfortable. Natural. He brought her flowers, but never the generic kind. He remembered what she said her grandmother used to grow and found them even out of season. He surprised her with breakfast on days he knew she had early meetings. He learned her routines, her moods, the way her voice changed when she was tired or annoyed. And she fell for him hard. When she finally met his family, it was during a weekend cookout. Backyard lights strung between trees, burgers on the grill, and his parents buzzing around like they were hosting royalty. That's when she saw him. His twin. At first, it was like looking into a mirror, Aaron standing next to someone who could have been his exact reflection. She blinked, almost laughed, thinking maybe she was imagining things. But no, they were identical. And yet, not. The other brother, let's call him Caleb, was magnetic in a completely different way. Where Aaron was calm and steady, Caleb had this restless energy, like he couldn't sit still too long. His laugh was louder. His eyes lingered a beat too long. He had that natural charm that pulls people in but doesn't always let them go. He teased her lightly, in a way that made her laugh but also left her slightly off balance. And when he looked at her, it felt like he was trying to see something behind her smile, something deeper or darker. There was a moment, just a flicker, when she felt it. That tiny pull. Like standing too close to the edge of a cliff and wondering what it would feel like to fall. But she stepped back. She had Aaron. And he was everything she wanted. What she didn't see, standing under those backyard lights, was the look Caleb gave his brother when he thought no one was watching. It wasn't jealousy, not exactly. It was something colder, sharper. A kind of hunger that didn't look away. Growing up, Aaron and Caleb had always been close. Inseparable, people said. They shared toys, clothes, even secret codes only they understood. But even as kids, there were differences. Aaron was the one who stayed behind to help their mother clean up. Caleb disappeared when it suited him. Aaron would wait his turn. Caleb would take what he wanted. Still, the bond held, because that's what twins do, right? They share a life, a rhythm, a world. But something shifted the moment she entered it. At first, it was subtle. Caleb made jokes about how he couldn't tell if she was dating him or Aaron. He'd accidentally call her late at night, pretending he meant to reach his brother. He'd show up when Aaron wasn't home, offering to help her with things Aaron had promised to do. Sometimes he'd say things that made her uncomfortable, too personal, too intense, but always with a smirk and a just kidding at the end. She mentioned it to Aaron once. He brushed it off. Said Caleb was just like that. Always had been. A bit much, but harmless. And maybe he believed it. Maybe he wanted to believe it. Because acknowledging anything else meant admitting the truth. That Caleb wasn't just being extra. He was circling her. Watching. Mimicking. Plotting. It's hard to explain the slow build of unease that comes when something is just slightly off. Like the way your gut reacts before your brain catches up. She started noticing things, like how Caleb knew details she'd only told Aaron. Or how he'd finish her sentences exactly the way Aaron would, with the same tone, the same cadence. Once, she swore she saw him wearing the exact cologne Aaron used, but she shook it off as coincidence. They were twins after all. Maybe it made sense. But deep down she started to wonder. How close is too close? And could you ever really be sure who you were talking to? Aaron still seemed unaware. Or maybe he was just in denial. He loved his brother. Forgave things easily. Explained them away. But the cracks had started forming. And while Aaron was falling deeper in love, Caleb was spiraling in a different direction. He wasn't just watching the relationship. He was trying to be it. Every smile, every kiss, every inside joke. It wasn't just envy. It was replication. Like he thought if he played the part well enough, she'd forget who she loved in the first place. And here's the haunting part. Sometimes she did forget. Just for a second. Just long enough to feel a shiver crawl up her spine. Just long enough to feel guilt pressed down on her chest like a weight she couldn't explain. Because part of her, some secret, shameful part, felt something when Caleb was near. Not love, but recognition. Like she was staring into the same face but a different story. And she didn't know how it would end. Obsession doesn't always show up wearing a mask or hiding behind a locked door. Sometimes it starts small, quiet, polite even. The kind of thing that could pass as coincidence. But it's never really coincidence, is it? It was a Thursday when she first felt it. That strange shift in energy. She was leaving her gym, sweat still clinging to her back, when she spotted Caleb sitting at the cafe across the street. He wasn't doing anything suspicious, just sipping an iced coffee, tapping on his phone, but her stomach clenched anyway. He looked up. Their eyes met. And instead of waving or pretending he hadn't seen her, he just stared. Like he was reading her thoughts. Like he'd been waiting for her. She forced a smile, gave a little nod, and kept walking. Maybe it really was just random. Maybe he had time to kill. She didn't say anything to Aaron when they met up for dinner that night. Why stir the pot over something so small? But the next week it happened again. Different place, same strange feeling. She was shopping for a birthday gift at a boutique downtown when Caleb showed up. He said he was looking for a jacket. but spent 20 minutes asking her opinion on everything from candle scents to women's shoes. He stood a little too close. His compliments carried a tone that didn't match his words. And this time he was wearing the same cologne Erin wore. Not just similar. Identical. Her chest tightened. She asked him casually why he smelled like his brother. He grinned. He started using mine. You like it? The lie was so clean, so easy, she almost believed it. Almost. That night, when Erin wrapped his arms around her, she inhaled his scent and felt something strange. Not comfort. Not love. Just a creeping doubt she couldn't shake. That's how obsession starts. It doesn't scream. It whispers. The mimicry got worse. At first, it was little things, phrases Caleb started repeating, the way he'd laugh at jokes only she and Erin used to share. But it escalated. He began styling his hair the same way, wearing the same watch, showing up in the same jacket Erin had just bought a week earlier. One morning, she swore she saw Caleb drive by her apartment. Twice. Then there were the texts. They came late at night. No name. Just a number she didn't recognize. The first one was simple. Thinking of you. She ignored it. Probably spam, she told herself. But then came. Do you still hum when you're nervous? That stopped her cold. She didn't tell Erin. She didn't want to believe it was Caleb. And maybe, deep down, a small part of her felt guilty for even suspecting him. But she blocked the number anyway. The next day, Caleb showed up unannounced. He said he was just in the neighborhood. She tried to stay polite, but her body tensed with every step he took inside. He noticed. Of course he did. And that's when he said something that made her blood run cold. You don't have to be afraid of me, he whispered, standing too close. I would never hurt you. I love you. She laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she didn't know what else to do. She said he was confusing her with his brother. That he was joking. That this was a misunderstanding. But he didn't laugh back. Instead, he leaned in and said, he doesn't deserve you. And just like that, he walked out. When she told Erin, only part of it, not everything, he got quiet. Too quiet. He didn't defend Caleb this time. He didn't excuse the behavior. Instead, he asked, what exactly did he say? She repeated the words. He doesn't deserve you. Erin's jaw tensed. He didn't say much after that. But she noticed how his mood changed, how he went from warm to cold in a matter of seconds. Like something inside him broke loose. From that moment on, there was a wall between them. Not just between her and Caleb, but between the brothers themselves. A silent war had begun. She started locking her windows at night, double-checking the doors. Her friends noticed her anxiety rising, asked if everything was okay. She smiled. What? Said she was just stressed at work. But the truth was she no longer felt safe. She'd see movement outside her building, only for it to vanish when she looked directly. Sometimes she'd swear someone had been in her apartment. Nothing stolen. Nothing obviously moved. Just a sense, strong and unshakable, that something was off. Her toothbrush was damp at midnight. Her phone would buzz with a call, only to show no caller ID when she picked up. She brought it up again with Erin. He swore Caleb would never go that far. That it was just paranoia. But when she asked him directly, do you believe me? He looked her in the eyes and said, I believe you think it's him. That hit harder than she expected. She didn't need to be doubted. She needed to be believed. Because the truth was clawing at the inside of her chest now. This wasn't infatuation anymore. This was something darker. Caleb wasn't trying to win her. He was trying to become Erin. And in the process he was erasing the line between who he was and who she loved. Her identity, her relationship, her safety, they were all unraveling. The brothers were no longer just two sides of the same coin. They were becoming enemies. There was one night she'll never forget. She was home alone, Erin gone on a work trip. Rain beat against the windows. Wind howled. She curled up on the couch, trying to distract herself with a book, when she heard it. A key in the lock. The door creaked open. She froze. Called out, Erin? Silence. Then a figure stepped into the room. Same height. Same build. Same familiar face. But it wasn't Erin. It was the way he stood. The way his eyes didn't soften when they met hers. The smirk that played on his lips, not out of love but control. He stepped forward, soaked from the rain, and said, You didn't answer my texts. Her voice caught in her throat. You shouldn't be here. But he just kept walking toward her. Why not? You let him in. It took everything in her not to scream. She reached for her phone. He noticed, turned, left without another word. When Erin got back the next day, she was done being polite. She laid everything out. Every visit. Every look, every word. She was shaking with fear and rage. And this time, Aaron didn't defend his brother. He just sat there, staring into nothing before muttering, "I knew it would come to this." She looked at him, confused. Come to what? But he didn't answer. The twin bond, the one built on secrets and shared lives, had finally snapped. And the consequences would be deadly. Some betrayals don't happen with intent. They happen in a moment of blindness. And sometimes, the cruelest part of deception is not the act, but realizing you never saw it coming. It started like any ordinary day. She'd had a long shift at work, the kind that leaves you bone-tired and emotionally drained. All she wanted was to be held. To be wrapped up in Aaron's arms and let the chaos of the week melt away. So when she saw him, same build, same jacket, same tousled hair, standing just outside her apartment complex, leaning against his car with that familiar half-smile, she didn't hesitate. She walked up fast, wrapped her arms around his waist and kissed him. It was brief but deep, a kiss filled with longing and exhaustion. And for a second, everything felt okay. Everything felt safe. But then something shifted. He didn't kiss her back the way Aaron usually did. His grip was tighter. His body more rigid. There was no warmth in it, just an eerie stillness. She pulled back. "Hey," she said, blinking up at him, suddenly uncertain. He smiled, but it was off. Too wide. Too confident. "You missed me that much?" he said, his voice lower than Aaron's, a tone she couldn't place at first, but then it hit her like ice water. It wasn't Aaron. It was Caleb. Her heart dropped. She stumbled back like she'd been slapped. He stepped closer. "Relax. It's not like you didn't enjoy it." She couldn't even respond. Her brain was spinning. Her body froze. She turned, muttered something, she couldn't even remember what, and rushed inside, locking the door behind her with trembling fingers. Her reflection in the mirror looked like someone else. Pale, shaken, confused, and above all, violated. Because it hadn't been a kiss between lovers. It had been a violation of trust, of space, of her entire sense of reality. And it had been planned. Caleb had known what he was doing. He'd worn Aaron's jacket, waited outside her building. He hadn't said a word to correct her. He let it happen. And now the worst part? She didn't know who to trust anymore. Hours later, Aaron showed up. He walked through the door like nothing had happened. Like everything was normal. She stared at him from the kitchen, unable to speak at first. She just studied him. His posture, the little wrinkle between his brows, the slight limp in his walk. Things only she would notice. Things Caleb wouldn't know how to mimic. And yet, she asked him to sit down. "We need to talk," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Aaron's eyes narrowed. "What's wrong?" I saw you earlier," she said. "Outside. You kissed me." He blinked. "No, I didn't." She stood straighter, heat rising in her chest. "Don't lie to me." Aaron's confusion deepened. "I wasn't even here. I was at the office until just now. You saw my message, I said I was running late." But she didn't check her phone. Not until now. And there it was. A text from Aaron, timestamped 5:41 p.m. Stuck in a meeting. Be there around 7. The kiss had happened at 6:10. Her hands began to shake. Aaron stood. What's going on? And that's when she told him. About the kiss. The way he didn't feel like him. The things he said. The jacket. Aaron's face drained of color. His expression twisted, not just in anger but in something deeper. Betrayal. He muttered something under his breath and stormed out without a word. She didn't know where he went. But she had a feeling. He was going to find his brother. Later that night the doorbell rang. She expected to see Aaron, furious and raw. But when she opened the door it was Caleb. Come. Collected. Smirking. "Can we talk?" he said. She should have slammed the door in his face. But she didn't. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the hope that she could finally make him say it, that he'd admit to what he did. Won't it give her clarity? So she let him in. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you do that?" He looked confused. Or at least tried to. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. She stared at him. "Don't. You know what I'm talking about." He sighed, then gave a soft laugh. "You really think I'd pretend to be him just to kiss you?" "You did." He stepped closer. "Or maybe you knew it was me. Maybe you just don't want to admit you liked it." She recoiled. "Don't twist this." But he was already twisting it. "Maybe you're confused. Maybe you wanted it to be me. I mean, you've always looked at me a little differently, haven't you? Maybe Aaron doesn't give you what you need." That was it. She shoved him back. "Get out." His face hardened. "You're going to regret this." But she didn't back down. Not this time. Get out. And he did. Not because he was afraid, but because he wanted her to feel unsettled, like he still had some kind of power. When Aaron finally came back, it was nearly midnight. His knuckles were bruised, his jaw tight. He didn't say where he'd been, but she didn't need to ask. "I need to ask you something," she said quietly. He sat down, exhausted. "Have you ever lied to me?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. "Yes," he said finally. "But not about this. I believe you." Those words almost undid her. But even with them, the damage had been done. Something between them had cracked. The kiss, however unintentional, had planted seeds of doubt in both their hearts. What if she had known? What if he had suspected Caleb for longer than he admitted? And now there was no denying it, Caleb had crossed a line. And he wasn't finished. He was manipulating everything. Gaslighting. Toying with their reality. Creating cracks in their foundation and slipping into them like a shadow. What started as obsession had turned into a psychological war. There was no longer just a love triangle here. There was a predator, a victim, and someone caught in between, afraid of what would come next. Because if Caleb was willing to do this, what else was he capable of? By this point, the line between obsession and delusion was no longer blurry, it had been erased. Caleb had always known how to imitate Aaron in little ways. The smirk. The quiet confidence. The way he brushed his fingers against her back when he passed. At first it had seemed harmless, an annoying sibling rivalry. A little too much mimicry, sure, but nothing life-altering. But now he was unraveling. He started showing up in places he had no business being. Her office, her gym, the grocery store. Sometimes he wouldn't even approach, just watch. Other times, he'd approach her like nothing was wrong, like they were lovers meeting in secret. "Miss me?" he said once, blocking her car door before she could get in. She stared at him, gripping her keys like a weapon. "Where's Aaron?" He leaned in too close, his breath warm and wrong. "Right where I left him." That sentence alone was enough to chill her to the core. She began to realize Caleb didn't just want to be like his brother. He wanted to replace him. Fully. Completely. Like a man stepping into someone else's skin and never intending to take it off. He wore Aaron's clothes more often. Bought cologne he never used before. He even dyed his hair a slightly darker shade, claiming it was just for fun. But it wasn't fun. It was a performance. And she was the prize. Aaron, on the other hand, had started sleeping with a knife under his pillow. The tension between the brothers wasn't tension anymore. It was war. Cold, silent war. The kind where neither man said what he was thinking, but both knew it was only a matter of time before something snapped. Aaron didn't want to talk about it. Not much anyway. Every time she brought up Caleb, his jaw clenched. His hands balled into fists. He was trying to protect her, but she knew the truth. He was scared too. Scared of what his own brother might do. Scared of losing her. Scared, maybe, that Caleb was already too far gone. The real horror started with the messages. Late-night texts, long and weirdly romantic, would pop up on her phone. Sent from Aaron's number. At first she thought they were sweet. Odd but sweet. Until she noticed the phrasing wasn't right. Aaron never said things like, "You were made for me," or "I'd do anything to keep you." And definitely not, "We're meant to be, even if the world tries to stop it." She showed Aaron the texts and he stared at them like they were written in blood. "I didn't send those." They checked the phone log together. Nothing on his outgoing messages. But the text kept coming. That's when Aaron remembered. Months ago, Caleb had borrowed his phone for a quick call. Just a few minutes. He must have cloned his number. Or hacked it. Or set up call forwarding. Aaron didn't know how, but Caleb did. And now he was pretending to be him. Pretending to be the man she loved. The messages turned darker. "You won't be able to run from me. Don't trust him. He's not who he says he is. You know it's always been me." She began having nightmares. Waking up in a cold sweat. Feeling watched even inside her locked apartment. The worst part? Sometimes she couldn't tell if it was Aaron or Caleb she was dreaming about. Their faces were identical. The voice in her dreams sounded like both of them, whispering things in the dark that made her skin crawl. The psychological manipulation was working. That's what Caleb wanted. To make her doubt everything. To make her unsure, even of the man she knew she loved. It was emotional waterboarding. Drown her just long enough to make her panic, then let her breathe for a second before dragging her back under. Aaron wanted to go to the police. She begged him not to. "He hasn't done anything yet," she said. But that wasn't true. He had. Just not in ways the law could pin down. And something inside her told her, If they went to the cops, it would only provoke him further. One night, everything came to a head. She had just gotten home from work. The apartment was dark. She called out for Aaron, thinking maybe he'd come over early. No answer. But someone was in the kitchen. She could hear the rustle of a cereal box, a spoon clinking against a bowl. She flipped the light on. Aaron. He turned. Her heart dropped. It was Caleb. He was wearing Aaron's hoodie, sitting at their table, eating like it was the most normal thing in the world. What the hell are you doing here? He didn't answer right away, just tilted his head and smiled. You left the door unlocked. I did not. You must have forgotten. Her eyes went to her phone, her bag, her keys. He stood up. You know, I've been thinking, maybe this has all been too confusing for you. Maybe you just need time. Time away from him. Time with me. Get out, Caleb. I can be what you need. No, you can't. You're not him. His expression changed, twisted into something ugly, like the mask had slipped again. I'm better than him, he spat. I see you. I know you. He takes you for granted. He doesn't deserve you. She backed up toward the hallway, heart racing. You need help, she said softly. You need me. That was the moment Aaron came through the front door. He didn't speak. He just charged. A blur of fists, fury, and betrayal. The two of them tumbled to the floor, shouting. Punches. Years of brotherhood combusting in one violent second. She screamed, grabbed the nearest lamp, and threatened to smash it. Stop, she yelled. Both of you. You're going to kill each other. Aaron rolled off Caleb, chest heaving. Caleb sat up, bleeding from his lip. He wiped it with the back of his hand and smiled. This isn't over. Then he stood and walked out like he hadn't just shattered what was left of their peace. That night, Aaron told her the truth. The kind of truth that doesn't make you feel better, but strips you raw. When we were kids, Caleb used to copy me. Always. He didn't know how to be himself. Our parents tried to separate us, give us our own identities, but he never grew out of it. He's always believed that what's mine should be his. So this is about you? It's about you now. He thinks you're part of the life he's entitled to. And if he can't have you. He didn't finish the sentence. But they both knew how it ended. It started with a text. Come meet me at the old train bridge. Just us. No more games. Let's fix this. She stared at the message, chewing her lip. It was from Aaron. Or at least it claimed to be. And that was the problem now. Every message felt like a trap. Every word a question mark. Still, something about the phrasing felt right. Not like the overly poetic stuff Caleb used to write. Just raw. Honest. The kind of desperation only someone deeply tired could type. So she went. She didn't tell Aaron. Didn't want to escalate things. Just needed clarity. A straight answer. One conversation to put the nightmare to bed. Either she was walking away from both brothers for good, or choosing the one she could still believe in. It was dusk when she got there. The wind carried a chill, and the sky was smeared with pink and orange, like the world itself didn't know whether to stay peaceful or ignite. He was already there, leaning against the rusted guardrail, hoodie on, hands in his pockets. He turned as she approached. Her heart skipped. Aaron. He smiled. You came. Relief settled in her chest, until he stepped closer. Something was off. The walk. The grin. Too wide. Too polished. And then he said it, you always look beautiful when you're confused. That was Caleb's line. He'd said it once before, during a weird, uncomfortable run-in at her apartment. Her stomach dropped. It was him. Where is he? She asked, backing up. You always ask about him first, Caleb muttered. Even now. Even after everything. Do you know how that feels? You pretended to be him. You kissed me. You manipulated everything. I gave you what he couldn't. Attention. Passion. The truth. He lied to you. I never did. You are the lie. Before he could respond, footsteps echoed from the path behind her. Aaron. Out of breath. Eyes already wide, scanning, knowing. Don't go near her, he barked, stepping between them. Caleb smiled like it was all just hilarious. What took you so long, brother? Aaron stepped forward slowly. We're ending this. Tonight. Caleb spread his arms, mock dramatic. Finally. What followed wasn't a fight. It was a reckoning. The two of them lunged at each other, not like siblings, not even like enemies, but like two parts of the same soul tearing themselves apart. It was fists and rage. Screams and years of bottled jealousy. The fight wasn't clean or cinematic. It was messy, sweaty, and almost hard to watch. She screamed at them to stop. Neither did. Aaron shoved Caleb back, But Caleb came at him with a rock he picked up from the gravel. "You don't deserve her," he screamed. Aaron ducked, threw a punch that landed hard on Caleb's temple. He stumbled but didn't fall. "You're not me," Aaron growled. "And she'll never love you." That did it. Caleb lunged. She didn't even see the knife at first. Just the shine. The flicker of something too sharp to be a threat. It was a promise. Aaron saw it. Too late. The blade grazed his arm as he ducked. He screamed out in pain but managed to tackle Caleb to the ground. They rolled near the edge of the bridge. Too close. Too damn close. She rushed forward, heart in her throat, screaming their names like it would change anything. And then, the moment. The one she'd relive in nightmares for the rest of her life. Aaron grabbed Caleb's wrist and twisted. The knife clattered to the ground. For a second, Caleb's eyes flashed something like panic. Maybe even regret. Then, one shove. Too hard. Too final. Caleb's foot slipped on the edge of the embankment. His arms flailed. No balance. No saving grace. He went over. She heard the sickening thud of body against rocks before she saw him, twisted below like a broken marionette. The knife lay beside her feet. Aaron collapsed to his knees, blood dripping from his arm, breathing ragged. He didn't speak. She couldn't. There was too much silence, like the world was holding its breath, trying to decide if what just happened was justice or a tragedy. They sat on the bridge for what felt like hours before either of them moved. Aaron finally whispered, "I didn't mean to. I didn't want." She placed a hand on his back, unsure if it was to comfort him or herself. "I know." But did she? Did either of them? Later, after the police came and the questions started, everything blurred. Aaron gave his statement, told them about the messages, the impersonation, the stalking, the confrontation. It was ruled self-defense. No charges filed. Still, a life had been lost. And not just Caleb's. Whatever innocence their love once had, whatever purity remained between her and Aaron, was gone now. Buried somewhere below that bridge with a twisted body and a shattered history. Aaron changed after that. Not in obvious ways. He still smiled. Still held her hand. But the light behind his eyes was dimmer. Like part of him was buried with his brother. Maybe the better part. They tried to move on. But even in the happiest moments, there was always that shadow. Two men. One love. One grave mistake. And the question that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Did he really mean to let go? Or was it the part of him that looked too much like Caleb, the part she never really understood, that did? You'd think after something like that, after blood is spilled and a heart is broken open right at the seam, things would be black and white. That the truth would stand tall, proud, easy to hold on to. But that's not what happened. After Caleb's body was taken away, after the cops packed up their notes and drove off, and after the adrenaline finally wore off, there was just air. Empty, heavy air between them. Nothing was said, but everything was felt. Aaron didn't cry. Not in front of her, anyway. He walked through the apartment like a man chasing his own echo. Sat on the couch, stared at the same news channel every night, volume low. Sometimes she'd hear him in the middle of the night, talking softly, like he was rehearsing what he should have said. Other times she'd find him holding something of Caleb's. A photo. A watch. Once, a childhood drawing they'd done together that he'd dug out of some old box. It was like his brother hadn't died, just moved in with them in a different form. He wouldn't say it, but she could see it. The guilt carved new lines into his face. Made him older overnight. Every time she touched him, he flinched just a little. Like even comfort now came with a sting. And honestly, she couldn't blame him. How do you live with being the one who survived, when the person you survived was your twin? It wasn't just that Caleb was gone. It was that he was a part of Aaron. The same laugh. The same walk. The same childhood. Losing him wasn't like losing a person. It was like losing a limb. And the worst part? Somewhere deep in the corners of her mind she wondered, did he want him gone? Even if only for a moment? That one thought never let her sleep quite right again. At first they tried to go back to normal. They made breakfast together. Sat through movie nights. Held hands while walking through the farmer's market like nothing had happened. But you can't slap wallpaper over a cracked foundation and expect the house to stand. She couldn't look at him the same way. Not because she blamed him, not exactly. But because she didn't know what she saw anymore when she looked into his eyes. There was love, sure. But there was also something else. Something darker. Something that whispered, "You saw what I'm capable of. And you stayed." And maybe that was the most terrifying part, not the night Caleb died. But the fact that she didn't leave afterward. That she chose to stay despite all the jagged edges. People talk about trauma like it's a wound you just clean up and cover with a bandage. But that's a lie. Trauma doesn't heal clean. It festers. It warps memories and feelings and turns everything good into a maybe. Their kisses got shorter. Conversations thinner. Silences longer. There were days when she wanted to ask him, "Tell me the truth, did you push him out of fear? Or because you were tired of competing with his shadow?" But she didn't. Because she was scared of the answer. And maybe deep down so was he. Here's the thing people don't tell you about love after tragedy: it doesn't disappear. But it does change. It gets quieter. Stiff. Less like fire, more like smoke. Something you feel but can't quite hold. Aaron never admitted to wanting Caleb gone. Not once. Not even with a hint. His story stayed the same. Caleb had the knife. Caleb made the first move. Caleb lost his footing. And maybe every word of that was true. But truth is funny. It's not always about what happened. It's about what people believe happened. She never fully believed him. Not because of facts, but because of the way he looked afterward, almost relieved. Like a weight had been lifted. Not that Caleb was dead exactly, but that he didn't have to compete anymore. That she'd never confuse their voices again. Never accidentally call out the wrong name. Never wonder whose text it was. There was only one now. One twin. One man. One truth. And it wasn't the truth he told her that broke things. It was the truth neither of them dared speak out loud. The one that hummed under the surface like a bad melody. That maybe, just maybe, there had always been a part of Aaron that wanted to be the only one in her eyes. And now he was. But it came with a cost. They stayed together a while longer. Out of habit. Out of fear. Out of that strange guilt-born love that clings tighter the more it's tested. But eventually, something cracked. One morning she packed a small bag. Not all her stuff. Just what she needed to breathe. He didn't ask her to stay. He didn't say goodbye. He just nodded. And that was all. Sometimes she'd dream about them. Both of them. Laughing. Arguing. Being stupid together like they used to before the lies started. In those dreams they weren't twins twisted by obsession. They were just brothers. In the end there were no neat endings. No final confessions. No healing epiphanies. Just a woman left wondering how close love can come to destruction before it becomes something else entirely. And a man left living in the echo of a name that sounded exactly like his own. So now that we've reached the end, let's pause for a second and breathe. Let's rewind just a little. A woman falls in love. She thinks it's with one man. Sweet, safe, predictable. What she doesn't realize is that his mirror image has been watching her from the shadows. Studying her. Wanting her, not in the poetic head-over-heels kind of way, but in the possessive, suffocating kind. She didn't see it coming. None of us would, honestly. It started small, accidental run-ins, a glance that lasted too long, a tone of voice that felt just a little off. And then one kiss. Just one. The wrong mouth, the wrong man. And suddenly she's caught in the middle of a storm made by blood, jealousy, and a kind of love that doesn't know how to stop. One brother spirals. The other survives. But nobody walks away clean. Because how do you come back from something like that? Let me ask you this, and I really want you to think about it. Could you forgive someone after a lie that big? Imagine giving your heart to a person only to realize someone else wore his face, his voice, his scent, and stole moments from you. Not just any moments, intimate ones. Could you look that person in the eyes again? Would you trust anything they say after that? And here's the harder question. What if the man you loved was capable of murder? Even if it was self-defense. Even if his twin really did snap first. Would that knowledge sit quietly in the back of your mind every time he raised his voice? Every time his expression darkened? Every time something didn't feel right? Would you still love him the same? And finally, this one's the one that sticks with me the most. Would you be able to tell the difference between love and obsession? Because let's be honest, sometimes obsession looks a lot like love, especially at the beginning. It's intense, all-consuming. You feel seen, wanted, like someone finally gets you. But then it turns. Quietly. Slowly. Until suddenly you're not loved, you're owned. So, what would you have done? Would you have stayed? Would you have run? Would you have fought back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you think. Because stories like this, they aren't just thrillers. They're mirrors. And sometimes what they reflect is uncomfortable. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like and share it. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? There's a lot more where this came from. See you in the next one.